Article 800.133 C1 of the National Electrical Code addresses this very topic. Yes, there is a limitation that telephone or data wires cannot be installed in metallic conduits such as aluminum flex. Metallic conduits can act as an antenna and pick up electromagnetic interference, also known as EMI, which can interfere with the signals carried by telephone or data wires. This interference can cause noise, distortion, or even complete signal loss. The use of non-metallic conduits such as polyvinyl chloride, abbreviated PVC, or polyethylene is recommended for telephone and data wires. If metallic conduits must be used, they must be properly bonded and grounded to minimize the risk of EMI. The low-voltage contractor may have their own company standards that prohibit the use of metallic conduits for telephone or data wires. It is important to follow all applicable codes and standards for the safe and proper installation of electrical and low-voltage systems. Electromagnetic interference, or EMI, is a disturbance caused by electromagnetic radiation emitted from external sources that affects an electrical circuit by electromagnetic induction, electrostatic coupling, or conduction. The disturbance may interrupt, obstruct, or otherwise degrade or limit the effective performance of the circuit. EMI can originate from various sources, both natural and man-made. Natural sources include lightning, solar flares, and atmospheric noise. Man-made sources are electronic devices, power lines, radio transmitters, and industrial equipment. Telephone and data wires are designed to transmit signals that can be sensitive to EMI. The metallic conduit surrounding the wires can act as an antenna, picking up ambient electromagnetic radiation and conducting it along the length of the conduit. This induced current can then interfere with the signals carried by the telephone or data wires. There are several methods to mitigate EMI in electrical installations. Firstly, shielding can be used to enclose sensitive circuits or cables within a conductive barrier that blocks electromagnetic radiation. Secondly, grounding provides a low impedance path for unwanted currents to flow to the earth, reducing the potential for EMI. Thirdly, filtering can be used to remove unwanted frequencies from the power supply or signal lines. Fourthly, twisting the wires together in a twisted pair configuration can cancel out induced noise. Fifthly, bonding connects different metal parts of an electrical system together to create a low impedance path for fault currents, reducing the risk of electrical shock and EMI. Finally, using fiber optic cables which are immune to EMI is a solution. Article 800 addresses communications circuits. Part 1 covers general requirements. Part 2 covers requirements for protection. Part 3 covers wiring methods and equipment. The scope of Article 800 covers communication circuits and equipment intended to provide communication services such as telephone, telegraph, outside wiring for fire alarm systems, and similar central station services to premises. These circuits do not include radio and television transmitting and receiving circuits. These requirements apply to both exposed and concealed wiring unless otherwise indicated. Where communications equipment or systems are subject to damage from exposure, suitable guarded or enclosed equipment must be used. Article 800.24 covers entrance cables. Underground communication cables entering buildings must be protected from damage and corrosion. The point of entrance must be above grade. Article 800.44 covers mechanical execution of work. Communication circuits must be installed in a neat and workmanlike manner. Cables must be supported by straps, staples, hangers, cable ties, or similar fittings designed and installed so as not to damage the cable. Article 800.50 covers listing and marking. Communication cables installed as wiring within buildings must be listed as being suitable for the purpose. Cables must be marked to indicate the type of cable and the listing agency. Article 800.110 covers grounding of entrance cables. Communication cables entering buildings must be grounded as close as practicable to the point of entrance. The grounding conductor must be connected to the grounding electrode system. Article 800.133 covers separation of conductors. Communications conductors must be separated from conductors of any electric light, power, Class 1, non-power limited fire alarm, and medium power network-powered broadband communications circuits as follows. Firstly, open conductors of communication systems must be separated at least 2 inches from conductors of any electric light, power, Class 1, non-power limited fire alarm, and medium power network-powered broadband communications circuits. Secondly, communications cables must be separated at least 4 inches from conductors of any electric light, power, Class 1, non-power limited fire alarm, and medium power network-powered broadband communications circuits. Thirdly, communications conductors must be separated from conductors of any electric light, power, Class 1, non-power limited fire alarm, and medium power network-powered broadband communications circuits by a partition or listed raceway. The purpose of these separation requirements is to prevent electrical hazards and to minimize the risk of electromagnetic interference. Article 800.133 C1 specifically addresses limitations. Limitations on installing telephone or data wires in metallic conduits such as aluminum flex. Yes, there is a limitation that telephone or data wires cannot be installed in metallic conduits such as aluminum flex. Metallic conduits can act as an antenna and pick up electromagnetic interference, also known as EMI, which can interfere with the signals carried by telephone or data wires. This interference can cause noise, distortion, or even complete signal loss. The use of non-metallic conduits such as polyvinyl chloride, abbreviated PVC, or polyethylene is recommended for telephone and data wires. If metallic conduits must be used, they must be properly bonded and grounded to minimize the risk of EMI. The low voltage contractor may have their own company standards that prohibit the use of metallic conduits for telephone or data wires. It is important to follow all applicable codes and standards for the safe and proper installation of electrical and low voltage systems. Additional factors can contribute to the selection of conduit material. Firstly, cost is a major factor. PVC conduit is generally less expensive than metallic conduit. Secondly, environmental conditions can impact conduit selection. PVC conduit is resistant to corrosion, making it suitable for use in damp or corrosive environments. Thirdly, the physical protection requirements must be considered. Metallic conduit provides better physical protection for the wires than PVC conduit. Fourthly, the type of wiring being installed is a factor. As discussed, certain types of wiring are more susceptible to EMI and should not be installed in metallic conduit. Fifthly, local codes and regulations may dictate the type of conduit that can be used. It is important to consult with a qualified electrician or electrical inspector to ensure that the correct type of conduit is selected for a particular application. Understanding the principles of electromagnetic interference and the requirements of the National Electrical Code is essential for ensuring the safe and reliable operation of electrical and communication systems. I follow the recommendations outlined in Article 800.133. C1. One can minimize the risk of EMI and ensure that telephone and data wires are properly installed. When running low voltage wiring, it is crucial to be aware of the potential for electromagnetic interference. Metallic conduits can act as antennas, picking up EMI and disrupting the signals carried by the wires. The National Electrical Code provides guidelines for minimizing EMI and ensuring the safe installation of electrical and communication systems. By following these guidelines and using appropriate materials, one can create a reliable and interference-free low-voltage system. There are other sections in the NEC that may be applicable in addition to Article 800. For instance, Article 300 covers wiring methods. Section 300.3. C1 covers single conductors. Single conductors in cable or raceway installations shall be permitted only where part of a recognized cable assembly or as permitted by other articles of this code. Section 300.11 covers securing and supporting. Raceways, cable assemblies, boxes, cabinets, and fittings shall be securely fastened in place. Support wires that do not provide secure support shall not be permitted as the sole support. Section 300.14 covers length of free conductors at outlets, junctions, and switch points. At least 6 inches of free conductor measured from the point in the box where it emerges from its raceway or cable sheath, shall be left at each outlet, junction, and switch point for splices or the connection of luminaires or devices. Where the opening to an outlet, junction, or switch point is less than 8 inches in any dimension, each free conductor shall be long enough to extend at least 3 inches outside the opening. Section 300.22 covers wiring in ducts, plenums, and other air handling spaces. The provisions of this section apply to the installation and use of electrical wiring and equipment in ducts used for dust, loose stock, or vapor removal, ducts used for ventilation of commercial-type cooking equipment, or the ducts or plenums used for environmental air. Section 300.4 covers protection against physical damage. Where subject to physical damage, conductors shall be adequately protected. One method of protection is to install conductors in rigid metal conduit, intermediate metal conduit, Schedule 80 rigid non-metallic conduit, electrical metallic tubing, or cable trays. Section 300.5 covers underground installations. Underground installations shall comply with the provisions of this section. Underground cables shall be directly buried or installed in raceways. Underground conductors shall be insulated for the voltage and environmental conditions. Section 300.7 covers raceway systems. Raceway shall be installed complete between outlet, junction, or splicing points. Raceways shall be mechanically secured to boxes, fittings, cabinets, and other enclosures. Section 300.15 covers boxes, conduit bodies, or fittings where required. A box shall be installed at each conductor splice point, conductor connection point, outlet, switch point, or junction point. A box shall also be installed where conductors are pulled into a raceway system. Section 310.15 covers ampacity. Ampacity is the current, in amps, that a conductor can carry continuously under the conditions of use without exceeding its temperature rating. The ampacity of a conductor is affected by several factors, including the conductor size, the insulation type, the ambient temperature, and the number of conductors in a raceway or cable. Tables in the NEC provide ampacity ratings for conductors under various conditions. It is important to select conductors with an ampacity rating that is sufficient for the load they will be carrying. Section 314.16 covers number of conductors in outlet, device, and junction boxes, and conduit bodies. Boxes and conduit bodies shall be of sufficient size to provide free space for all conductors enclosed in the box. The volume of the box shall be calculated in accordance with the requirements of this section. Tables in the NEC provide the maximum number of conductors that are permitted in boxes of various sizes. It is important to select boxes that are large enough to accommodate all of the conductors that will be installed in the box. 314.17 covers conductors entering boxes, conduit bodies, or fittings. Conductors entering boxes, conduit bodies, or fittings shall be protected from abrasion. Where raceways enter boxes, conduit bodies, or fittings, the raceways shall be securely fastened to the box, conduit body, or fitting. Section 314.27 covers outlet devices, lighting outlets, and outlet boxes. Outlet devices, lighting outlets, and outlet boxes shall be securely supported. Outlet devices shall be of a type that is suitable for the application. Lighting outlets shall be installed in accordance with the requirements of Article 410. Outlet boxes shall be installed in accordance with the requirements of this article. These are just a few of the many sections in the NEC that may be applicable to electrical installations. It is important to consult with a qualified electrician or electrical inspector to ensure that all applicable codes and regulations are followed. Remember that while the NEC provides a comprehensive set of guidelines for electrical installations, it is not a substitute for professional judgment. Electrical work should only be performed by qualified individuals who have the knowledge and experience necessary to perform the work safely and in accordance with all applicable codes and regulations. If you are not a qualified electrician, it is important to hire a professional to perform any electrical work that you need to have done. Attempting to perform electrical work yourself can be dangerous and can result in serious injury or even death. In addition to safety, there are other reasons to hire a qualified electrician. A qualified electrician will have the knowledge and experience necessary to perform the work correctly and efficiently. They will also be able to identify any potential problems and recommend solutions. Hiring a qualified electrician can save you time and money in the long run. The information provided is intended for general guidance only and should not be considered a substitute for professional advice. Always consult with a qualified electrician or electrical inspector to ensure that your electrical work is performed safely and in accordance with all applicable codes and regulations. The National Electrical Code is a complex and ever-evolving document. Staying up to date on the latest changes and interpretations of the code is essential for anyone involved in the electrical industry. There are several resources available to help you stay informed about the NEC. The National Fire Protection Association, abbreviated NFPA, offers a variety of training courses and publications on the NEC. Many local jurisdictions offer continuing education courses for electricians. Trade publications such as Electrical Construction and Maintenance, abbreviated EC&M, provide articles and information on the NEC. Online forums and communities provide a platform for electricians to share information and ask questions about the NEC. By taking advantage of these resources, you can stay informed about the NEC and ensure that your electrical work is performed safely and in accordance with all applicable codes and regulations. Understanding the limitations of metallic conduits for telephone and data wires, as outlined in NEC Article 800.133 C1, is crucial for preventing electromagnetic interference and ensuring reliable communication systems. By using non-metallic conduits or properly bonding and grounding metallic conduits where necessary, you can minimize the risk of signal disruption and maintain the integrity of your low-voltage installations. Always prioritize safety and compliance with all applicable codes and standards.